Who and or what inspired you to become an actor?
I did a lot of like local. That's not right. I had the schools I went to had after school programs, and I loved doing it and was supported by my parents in doing it, and then in high school I had two teachers who really said like, if you worked at this and kind of stopped fucking off, you could probably be good at it, you know, and they helped me get into a drama conservatory and went there for 4 years, and yeah, and growing up it was like Bill Murray and Chevy Chase and Robin Williams, and then, you know, getting older and like Heath Ledger and Philip Seymour Hoffman and John C. Reilly and Sam Rockwell, guys like that who seem to be able to do all of it in equal measure, with a kind of like honesty and weirdness and joy and darkness, like kind of all blended together. That's what I really love. So that's what we got here.
What is the hardest lesson you've had to learn as an actor?
Oh, sometimes it's just not your day. Like, you can be as malleable as you want to be, but like somebody else is more right for it. Like, they're just not going to hire you because you're not the guy, you know? And that sucks to learn. And then you figure out how to like be in the lane that you're in and do as much as you can with that lane. And also, like, I've been really, really lucky, you know? And I see a lot of friends of mine who are like wildly talented and just don't get the shots that I've gotten or that friends of ours have gotten. And that's sort of a lesson to be learned by proxy, that like I'm very fortunate to have what I've got. And yeah, try to remember that.
The premise of the White Lotus is the life of guests and staff at a tropical resort over the span of a week. It's been called a social satire, but I understand that there is also some real depth and complexity to those stories being told. Can you talk a bit about that aspect of the show?
The White Lotus is definitely social satire to some extent. And, you know, the best way to make fun of those things, to satirize the things that we hold so dear or that we prioritize in our lives, I think, is to, you know, to play them for keeps, to like play it true, like that these people's lives are real and there's real consequences to them, and that sort of underlines the ridiculousness of what we hold on to. So I think they're both true. And I think what's wonderful about what Mike has created and directed here is that each of these characters or couples or families, like, each has a totally grounded perspective or you know, very real wants and needs. Like, there's no outright villain, there's no outright hero, and everyone's just grinding up against one another in terms of what they want out of these interactions. So that's for me as a viewer, the joy of any show that tackles this tone, and as an actor is a real pleasure to get to play around, because you don't have to like convince yourself that the thing your character wants is real. You just go like, yeah, this is it. Shane got the wrong room, and he paid for the other room, so give me the right room. You know, there's no. You just lean into that as much as you want. Yeah.
How is your character in The White Lotus different from anyone we have seen you play before?
I don't think I've played anyone this entitled before. Shane wants what he wants and has a real expectation that he's going to get it. And like, the easier thing maybe would be like, I play a lot of nice guys or good guys, that kind of thing. But and Shane's an asshole. But really, it's that entitlement thing. Like most of my guys' characters in the past are like thinking of other people, I think, and Shane's almost exclusively thinking about himself.
The White Lotus was filmed last year under COVID-19 guidelines. What was this experience like, considering it was shot in Hawaii, and did it create any challenges for you on set in terms of your mindset and method?
Yeah, we all lived in the same hotel, shot in the same hotel, didn't leave the grounds, were tested continuously, like throughout the process, continually. And so it was bizarre, nothing I'd ever experienced before, and also really comforting in a way because you're tested so much and no one's really allowed in or out, and so there's a sense of security that you know, like, we're going to know if someone's got it and it'll be taken care of as best as possible. And surreal to be in the most beautiful place that I've ever been, one of the most beautiful places, and be working and be in the middle of a pandemic, having not worked for a year. And then on set, it was normal enough for the actors because you're sort of taking your mask off and working and things like that, but that crew was wearing masks and shields and gloves depending on their job, and full like scrubs if they were doing hair and makeup, and like that crew busted their ass for 2+ months to make this thing happen, and the actors, as is always the case, had it the best. So it was pretty normal for me on set, and yeah, all that other stuff starts to kind of fade away as you just kind of laser in on the thing you're doing, and then you leave set and it all comes back as you wear a mask everywhere and people are telling you 6 feet apart and you can't leave the grounds. Yeah.
Many people have done a lot of soul searching over this past year and a half. Has your experience of the pandemic changed the way you see your career?
Well, my business is feast or famine, and the pandemic was a bit of famine, even though a lot of the time my life is feast. So it makes me very grateful for the times that are feast, and stressed the fuck out about the times that are famine. So I got a couple of kids and I'm married, and it makes me be a little more a little less tethered to like finding meaning in my job and thinking this is a job and you should make some money and take care of your family, and like if you get to be creatively fulfilled, then that's great. And at the same time, it makes me desperately want to be creatively fulfilled because it's the thing that makes me the happiest outside of my family. So it really has only pulled my senses into further extreme than they were before, which is like I only want to work on really good shit, and the other 50% of the time I'm like, fuck it, take any job and get paid, because who knows. Yeah.
You are also starring in the upcoming Aaron Sorkin film, Lucy and Desi, about Lucille, Ball, and Desi Arnaz, and what went on behind the scenes of I Love Lucy television show. In the movie, you play the show writer Bob Caroll Jr. What was it like working on a Sorkin set and performing his writing?
Well, I mean, that writing is, he's an iconic writer for a reason. It's incredible. The material is just absolutely incredible. And in doing it, I was like, oh boy, if they could reboot The West Wing and I could be on that for a decade and just do this material day in and day out, you know, see answer to previous question, like I would, you know, just that level of fulfillment. Yeah, it's rare to get to work with somebody who writes at that level and with that clarity and that awareness and that rhythm, and that just is a beautiful thing to witness. And, you know, I spent most of my time in the film working alongside Alia Shawkat and Tony Hale and Paige Buzan, and man, we just had a great time. Yeah, maybe they'll make a sequel, and it will do that. They're not going to make a sequel. It's just about I Love Lucy. There's no way they're going to do another one of those. But I would do it.
And this next question refers back to your experience working on the Sorkin set and performing his writing. What was your biggest takeaway from that experience?
You know, my biggest takeaway from being a Ricardos was getting to watch Javier Bardem work with Aaron's text, and to see like an incredibly intelligent, vulnerable, masculine, thoughtful live performance mixed with Aaron's intricate and dense and wildly beautiful writing come together, and to see that all in one space is riveting. That's the height of what I want to see and what I want to do. So that was the big takeaway, was to see those two things, the sum being greater than the parts, when the parts are already the best there is maybe a once in a lifetime opportunity. I hope it's not. I hope it's a whole bunch in my lifetime, but that might be it. It was incredible.
Is there a character you have played who changed your perspective on a particular issue?
No. Because you're all these characters you're playing, you're just working from your own experience and then doing as much, the best you can do is be sympathetic or empathic toward their struggle or wants or experiences or circumstances, but you're still working from your own brain, and you still have the same blind spots you had before the thing. So there's experiences making things that have changed my life or my view on this work or other people's work or my own speed to judgment, that kind of stuff. But there's no role that I'm I felt this way and then I did this role and now I see things differently. It's that feels like either a person who had a pretty simple view of the world before and just a different simple view after, or I don't know what the alternative is, just a bigot who then somehow got cast as a bigot that turns good. Yeah. Yep.
Considering that you just worked with Sorkin, who else is in your dream list of creatives you would like to work with in the future?
There's the heaviest hitters, P.T. Anderson and Wes Anderson and Scorsese and Fincher and Catherine Bigelow and Greta Gerwig and but and I would love to work with those people. And then there's also the joy of just creating a thing with a person where you're on the same wavelength for whatever reason, whether they're part of the mountaintop in our sort of public perception of things. It's wonderful to participate with that thing where you go there's a reason that you're great and known and revered. And then it's also wonderful to participate and create a thing where you see someone's work and they see yours and you're oh man, I think there's a thing here, and then it sort of builds out from there. That's equally as fulfilling, I think, in my experience, as getting to sort of touch the void and be I'm participating with greatness, is it cuts in these different directions. You participate with this greatness and it humanizes that person and that element in this way that then also makes their work seem even greater because you see them as people and realize what they're doing is that much more special. It's not that they're like touched by the hand of God with this, and it's like they're thinking and grinding and working and evaluating it, and that is actually the more special thing than just having someone be this sort of icon and now we get to like touch the robe. Like that's not it. And then the other version is meeting someone who hasn't gotten a shot or as many shots or isn't seen that way or isn't seen that way yet, and then getting to also build a thing and be like, you sort of meet them on this human level and then through the process be like, oh, there's a greatness in here that like I hope everybody gets to see and participate with. I hope your voice and your thing gets to be seen and heard. And that's also amazing. I just like being in the mix. You know?
What is one piece of advice you would like to give to any young person hoping to pursue an acting career?
I think you should have like real high hopes and low expectations. But that's not to be like, oh, this business, this craft is unforgiving and people are mean. It just is to be like, it can be so, so wonderfully rewarding and so terribly disappointing. But I'm giving advice from a place of privilege because it's working out. There's other people who might be like, don't do it. Don't put yourself through this. Not making it sucks. I wish I'd gone to school for finance. So my point of view is skewed from a guy who's like getting to live the thing he wanted to live. So I'm like, hey, go for it. Someone's got to believe in you. But I don't know if that's the right answer. Because like the rate of like making it to not making it is whatever that means. It just is fucked. So when I was 18 and people were like, have a backup plan, I was like, that's bullshit. And now I'm like, you should have a backup plan. For sure have a backup plan. At least know, like, I don't know. I don't actually have very good answers. The best thing I heard when I was coming out of school, two things was, there's no front door to this business. You don't get to like walk in and hand like the person your resume and then they see if you're like of value. Like that just isn't how it works. And the other was just this story that was sort of handed down, but essentially it was like, good things come to those who persevere. And that, when things weren't going well for me, is what I hung on to, and still is in the moments where I think things aren't going well for me, is to hang on to that. That would be my advice. Sage wisdom. Some really sage wisdom from a 35-year-old well-paid white male.
What are your hopes and dreams for the year ahead?
I want to keep working. I just want to keep working. I love it. Love working with other people. Love making stuff. Just want to keep working. And then in the times that I'm not working, want to be able to really not work. Not be caught in the mental purgatory of like, is this next job happening? Is this thing when's the next? Am I never gonna work again? Like, to like step out of that and be like, no, I'm just here and I'm whatever that means. Walking on the beach and eating ice cream, or walking around with my kids, or like just to really be present to the not working times as well, as opposed to living in the anxiety of like, when's the next? Those are my big dreams for the next year. And buy a corduroy suit. I want to buy a black corduroy suit. No. That's it.
Jacob, can you tell to Oda Magazine and tell everybody something?
Hey, to all the folks at Oda Magazine, thanks so much for having me on. It's been a wonderful day, and yeah, I really appreciate it. Thanks for all the time. Thanks for having me. And everybody who's watching this and reading this, and
thanks for taking the time to watch it and listen to what I have to say and check out these beautiful photos and these beautiful clothes. Thanks.